It's finally here. The long-awaited, highly requested review for GregTech New Horizons has arrived, or at least the first part of it. You all thought I wouldn't be able to get the review made within the year. You all thought I'd shrivel to dust and blow away before I got this review done. And worst of all, you guys thought I couldn't make a review without beating this pack, but you all didn't expect that I was actually a galaxy brain genius. I don't need to review the whole thing at once. I could break the review down into parts and review each of the segments I do until I think I've had enough. Get clowned on, you dinguses. Anyways, intro tirade aside, yes, I did play GregTech New Horizons, and despite only getting like 3 chapters in, yes, I've got a lot to say about it. So sit back, relax, and prepare to hear this professional yapper talk about what could be the most batshit insane pack I have ever played. Also, before we begin, if you like what you see here today, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. We're tantalizingly close to that 10K mark, which is the New Year's resolution, so if you found yourself returning here often, maybe now's the time to sub up. As always, it's ultimately your call. You do you, I'm not your mom. Let's start Greggin'. GregTech New Horizons is a mod pack that is infamously known not only for its complexity, but for its insanely long completion time. Depending on how many people are playing on the same world, you could be looking at thousands of hours of required playtime. Not an exaggeration, this pack has been around for over 9 years and people have calculated this shit. It is insane. So, needless to say that if I decide to play this pack to completion, or if this video series does well enough to justify completing it, I can probably kiss my mid to late 20s goodbye. But enough build up, did I have a good time with the first part? What does it do right and what does it do wrong? Well, to review this pack, we are going to do the usual, breaking it down into 3 segments. 1, what I liked about the portion I played. 2, what parts I didn't like. And 3, initial overall thoughts. Before we continue, it's probably worth noting that in this review, I went from the intro age to age 0.5, which may not sound like a lot to the inexperienced, but that's 3 chapters of the pack. Anyways, let's just hop in with what I like. Right out the gate, during these few chapters, GregTech does a fantastic job of setting the expectation of what the pack is about. Just about every single recipe under the sun has been revised to be in line with the sort of energy the pack gives off. What is that energy, you might be asking? Complete bullshit. Now, I understand that sounds like I might not like this pack, but actually quite the opposite. I love how this pack just embraces how completely awful it is to go through. The pack is carefully balanced between being well thought out and just straight up stupid. It's like it was designed by one guy who had sort of like a reasonable expectation for the mod pack, and then the other guy who downed 3 martinis and did a whole line before arriving to the meeting. Like, one guy went, maybe we can make Orvane spawn in a grid-like pattern that's both predictable and rewarding, and then the other guy was like, let's make our mobs have a chance to blow up after killing them. That's not shit I made up for the bit, by the way. Yes, ores spawn in large veins that are positioned in a grid-like manner. Once you find a vein, it is pinned on your map. The veins are a few chunks apart, and vein chunks seem to only have one type of vein from my understanding, so this may sound weird, but it actually made mining super interesting because instead of just haphazardly strip mining every couple blocks, you instead know exactly where a vein would be located. Yet what vein you get is a complete mystery. Then you can eventually make a dowsing rod, which just lets you sort of find out where these ores are at from the surface level if you have that ore already available in your inventory. It's incredibly well thought out and fun. Then we have that last half I said. Yes, the mobs explode on death. All of them. By random chance. Why? Cause fuck you and your health bar, that's why. This weird duality between well thought out to rabies-induced changes gives the pack this sort of endearing charm. It's hard to explain. Let me just rattle off a couple more examples of this duality for the sake of proving my point. Charcoal in the early game is made in a coke furnace for free, but making a stack of charcoal takes legitimate hours. Crafting recipes were all reworked in order to make the mods all mesh together in a way that feels like they belong, but the bed crafting recipe looks like this. See what I mean? Everything it does is deliberate and thought out, so it's not just cobbled together with duct tape and string, yet sometimes the pack just deliberately decides, you know what? Here's this multi-layered recipe that's gonna take you hours to get made. Good luck, asshole. And I have fallen in love with it. GregTech New Horizons seems to have mastered its ability to be both awful yet entirely enjoyable. Granted, this is my opinion within the first few ages, but if I'm feeling this positively about it, then I guess that's just a testament to how well it's all structured. And on a side note, may I just say that the quest book in GregTech is probably one of the best quest books I've seen in a long time. Instead of bombarding you with 500 different things immediately, the quest book actually hides away most of the quests in an age. You see, oftentimes other mod packs tend to just put every single quest in plain view, and it tends to be pretty overwhelming. But here, you only get told your next steps, and they mark what quests are important to pack progression by giving the main quest a fancy little border. On top of which, there's side quest chapters, and there's also a little coin shop, so if the world gen just completely screws you over, you can just buy what you're missing. Which, given my track record, y'all probably think I used that, but joke's on you, I haven't used this part once, though I kinda wish I did it for the dowsing rod because I took an actual total of 4 hours to find redstone, but hindsight's 20/20, folks. folks. Now, since this is going to be a multiple part review, I guess I can also take the time to talk about the ages I completed, starting with the introductory age. I'm counting this as an age considering the fact that it took a couple hours to complete and the fact that you have to complete this before you can access age 0. This introductory chapter is fantastic in what it does to set expectations for the player. It sort of has this tongue-in-cheek energy about it that's sort of infectious, often mocking a part of its design in a cheeky way. It establishes that the pack is difficult, time-consuming, but if you're patient, pretty damn satisfying. It also establishes that nighttime is going to be a piece of shit, but we'll wrap around to that later. Point is, this entire introduction chapter is getting you the basic essentials to progress in the pack. I think it does a fantastic job at slowly introducing what it changes without overwhelming the player. Before you know it, you find yourself in the next age, which is where Greg Tech really begins. Age 0 is marked as the Stone Age, and this is where a large portion of my current playtime took place. Which, before I continue, can I just say that calling it Age 0 and the next Age 0.5 is probably the funniest throat punch this pack could have thrown? It's like, yeah, you just spent a couple hours in the introduction, but that's newborn type shit and it means nothing. Get ready for the real world, dumbass. It's funny as hell, but it's also right. That intro chapter ain't shit compared to Age 0. As soon as you enter, it drops on you 2 rather daunting resource collection quests out the gate. This is funny as hell, and it was the exact moment that I know that Greg Tech was 100% screwing with me. Now admittedly, not every single quest in this age is like this, but there are some notably funny moments. Like the door quest, where you have to craft a door, which is a multi-part recipe requiring 2 parts that have 3 to 4 recipes within them. The door was so daunting that it had its own side quest. Or, and this is my personal favorite, when you complete the wrench and then 15 side quests just spawn out of nowhere and just causing sensory overload on impact. Greg Tech is evil. It's awesome. I don't know, man. Maybe I lost my sanity after committing a shit ton of hours into it, just getting to age 0.5. But regardless, I maintained enough sanity to actually have critiques to dish out, so let's talk about that. Now, given the fact that I have even humored this mod pack to begin with, you might be surprised to hear this, but I have pretty bad ADHD. Combined, if you're curious. And let me just say that if you by chance also have this wonderful little brain development, then I would immediately swerve to dodge this pack because this mod pack is full of profuse waiting or time-consuming processes. If it weren't for the fact that I find its inherent nonsense amusing, and for the fact that I also get paid to do this, then I probably would have also dodged this pack naturally. And it's not like a little bit time-consuming. Like, you know what, just here, let me give you an example of just how much time you have to spend waiting. In order to make charcoal, you actually have to craft a coke oven. Doing so requires quite a few coke oven bricks to build a multi-block structure. After doing so, you grab any logs you chop down and toss it in, where it'll cook the charcoal for free. And I shit you not when I say this, but a full stack of charcoal takes over an entire hour to complete. I literally started the process, cooked dinner, talked with family, finished packing stuff into storage, and came back to find it still working on it. I totally get that this is the entire point of this pack, and that this pack is more about the journey than the destination, but I was shocked at just how much shit was slowed down here. I learned to embrace it, but now if I'm legit waiting on charcoal or coke to finish, I just leave it open and watch Ren and Stimpy until it's done. Another thing is that even though I enjoy everything it's doing, it's probably safe to say that the complications of recipes tends to go off the deep end. Now, like I said, I do think this pack is well designed and structured for what it's trying to do, and it succeeds at its goal with flying colors, but on an objective game design standpoint, these recipes are ridiculous. It's kind of like The Room, where it's so bad it just kind of wraps around to being good again. If any of you aspiring pack creators wish to do recipes like this, understand that Greg Tech pulled off miracles here, and I do not recommend you attempt to pull the same stunt. I mean, these recipes alone are so infamous that it's the primary reason most players who haven't played it won't play it yet. Basically what I'm saying is that even if it's intentional, these recipes are objectively terrible. I enjoy the nonsense of it, but still. Then we have hunger. I imagine it probably gets easier to manage later in the game, but holy shit, is hunger management unreasonably bad. Like, not even enjoyably bad, it's just bad. Every single food item that isn't a Mondo-sized recipe has had its hunger value nerfed to shit, and if you eat too many of the same food, the already nerfed food value gets even more nerfed. Listen, man, I'm already struggling to make meals for the most part in the pack, and I get pork chops and vanilla were busted, but why in the hell does it only give me 2 points of hunger? Seriously overkill in my opinion, but oh well. They don't exactly call it Greg Tech Happy Fun Time Phil, now do they? Then we have the difficulty. It's bad. Remember that whole part where I said that dealing with nighttime was kind of ass in this pack? Let me explain why. First off, Beta Darkness returns with a vengeance. If you're caught out in the wilderness at nighttime, you can pretty much kiss your blade to see your own toes goodbye. Then we add on the new mobs they add, and by that I mean they add literally every difficult mob they possibly could have that wasn't actively becoming RL craft. There's champion mobs, there's multiple different mob types with unique abilities that range from annoying to stupid. And maybe it's because I was in the magical forest biome, but I swear to God witches didn't spawn this often. And of course, GregTech's answer, as always, is, well, not my problem, figure it out. In all fairness, it does make nighttime threatening when it stopped being so a long time ago, but it makes it almost too threatening, especially when not every threat burns in daylight. Just saying. Pretty stupid. Then there's my final criticism, and honestly the biggest one I could possibly give. Inventory management. This mod pack has objectively the single worst case of inventory bloat I have ever seen in a mod pack ever. Veins aren't just one ore block, it's multiple, all of which with their own block IDs. And I'm not talking about like, oh, gold, coal, and iron in a vein. I'm talking about 3 different ore blocks that at least during early game just give the same mineral anyways. This mod pack has an element system from what I can tell, and because of this, the actual bloat of your inventory is now exponentially worse because of how many elements still offer you gold. Because of how many elements are inside of a vein, you naturally have to have several, inventory slots open to get the full yield of what you've mined out. This is even more problematic when you see small ore veins, which break into several other items that are nothing like the veins and basically take inventory space despite having little relevance on the vein you're working on. There's tons of these sorts of inventory fillers everywhere. Food gardens, multiple flowers, numerous tree types, loot bags from quests that drop 10 things at the same damn time. Then you have 15 different components that are needed in most recipes in every metal variety, and the 4 to 5 tools you need for crafting recipes. All of it just adds up into being a full inventory purgatory. And to be fair, a lot of mod packs have this problem, but GregTech New Horizons probably has the most aggressively problematic quantity of this. And since not only are chests more expensive to make in this mod pack, but backpacks themselves have an intense crafting recipe, it's just a huge issue from start to finish that I don't imagine being solved until way later in this mod pack. All that being said, I'm drawing blanks on any more major critiques, so I guess it's time for my overall thoughts. GregTech New Horizons is truly a unique and memorable experience that I haven't had with any other mod pack. The sheer amount of unique mechanics and mod content that is interlaced with each other is insane. For a mod pack that's been in development for supposedly 9 years, it shows. Considering how many mods are in this, not a single mod I played with ever felt detached, all felt like one singular meshed together experience. GregTech's amazing ability to balance well thought out changes with complete bullshit is what makes this pack so enjoyable. It just makes me excited to continue my journey. I would highly recommend everyone at least play this pack once. Even though barely anyone who has ever played this pack has actually completed it, I would still recommend it to just be considered a rite of passage for all modded Minecraft players. You just have to do it. It's your growing up story. GregTech New Horizons should be observed by all aspiring mod pack creators as well, not to see what to do with crafting recipes. God no, I wouldn't be caught dead playing yet another mod pack with the same level of like crack fiend crafting recipes. But instead, I think aspiring mod pack creators should instead use it as an example on how to not only pace the player through the content of the mod pack, but also as an example of how to make the mods you add feel like they play with one another. It's just that much of a well-developed experience. With that, the first part of the GregTech New Horizons review comes to an end. This is normally where I'd have a mod pack vote, but since I already decided I was going to be playing Terra Firma Craft next, I'll instead have you all do the original method and recommend mod packs for me, and I'll add it to the vote list. So, leave your mod pack recommendations below, and if you want to see more than just 2 parts of this mod pack, be sure to hit that like and sub button to appease the algorithm. But until next time, this has been the Bottom Dweller. I probably need a padded cell after this.